You're at home, on an ordinary afternoon. The television is on. The water for coffee is starting to boil. And your phone is charging on the table. Suddenly, a light floods everything. It's a light brighter than the sun, more intense than anything you've ever seen in your life. A total white glare comes through the window, and for a second, you're completely blind. Then, silence. It's a strange, unnatural silence that lasts only 2 or 3 seconds. And then, the blast wave hits. Windows explode inward. Shards of glass fly through the room like shrapnel. And the walls vibrate with terrifying force as plaster falls from the ceiling onto you. You hit the floor. You're alive, and you're conscious. But what you don't know is that right now, you have exactly 10 minutes to make the decisions that will determine whether you live through the next 48 hours or not. Most people at this moment are frozen by the impact. The brain shuts down, refusing to process what's happening. Someone might sit there on the floor, among the shattered glass, waiting for someone to come help, or thinking it's all a bad dream that will fix itself. But those who survive don't wait. Those who survive act immediately, and they act correctly, not because they're braver, but because they knew in advance exactly what to do. That's what today's video is about. Is it possible to survive a nuclear attack? The short answer is yes, as long as you're not at ground zero and you know what to do in those crucial first 10 minutes. Today, we're going to break this down second by second. First, we need to understand the physics of the event. To know how to survive, you have to understand what's trying to kill you. A nuclear explosion has 4 destructive factors, 4 waves of death that arrive one after another. The first is thermal radiation, that initial flash of light that lasts a few seconds. The temperature at ground zero reaches millions of degrees. At a distance of about 2 to 2.5 miles, it causes third-degree burns on exposed skin. At 4 to 5 miles, it causes first-degree burns and sets clothing on fire. However, if you're indoors and don't look directly out the window, your chances of avoiding these burns increase dramatically because walls block most of the heat. The second is the shockwave, which arrives a few seconds after the flash at a speed of hundreds of meters per second. At a distance of about 1.25 miles, the destruction of buildings is total. At 2.5 to 3 miles, there is severe damage and collapses. Even at 6 miles, windows shatter and cracks appear in structures. The shockwave is the main killer at medium distances. You're not killed by the explosion itself, but by glass flying at over 100 miles per hour and debris turning into projectiles. The third is initial or penetrating radiation, made up of gamma rays and neutrons that act in the first few seconds. Up to about 1.25 miles, the dose is lethal, and up to 2.5 miles, it causes very severe radiation sickness. Beyond 3 miles, the dose drops significantly. Concrete walls, basements, and thick layers of earth serve as shields. The more solid material between you and the explosion, the lower the dose you'll receive. The fourth is radioactive fallout. This is the most treacherous factor because it doesn't arrive instantly, but minutes or even hours later. Radioactive dust rises into the sky, forms a cloud, and falls to the ground following the direction of the wind. This is what's known as the fallout plume, and it's what ends up killing more people in the long term. It's not the explosion or the blast wave, but that dust settling silently on streets, rooftops, your clothes, and your food. Always remember this sequence: flash, blast wave, radiation, and fallout. Against each of these factors, there are specific actions to take, and now we're going to analyze them, minute by minute. Minute 0. The flash. You've seen the glare, or the light has flooded the room. Do not look toward it. If you're near a window, throw yourself to the ground immediately. Don't stay standing. Don't go near it to see what's happening. In a few seconds, the shockwave will arrive, and the window will turn into 1,000 fragments flying toward your face. Drop to the ground, face down. Protect your head with your hands, and move away from windows. Try to press yourself against an interior wall, one that doesn't face the street. If there's a sturdy table, get under it. If you're on the street, throw yourself to the ground behind any shelter, a wall, a curb, or a vehicle. Close your eyes, cover your ears, and keep your mouth open. This last part is no joke. The pressure change from the shock wave can rupture your eardrums, and keeping your mouth open helps equalize that pressure. These actions will take you between 3 and 5 seconds, but they are the seconds that will save your life. Minutes 1 to 3. After the shock wave, the blast wave has passed and you're alive. Around you there's dust, shattered glass, and maybe fallen furniture. The first thing is to assess yourself. Are you injured? Are you bleeding? Do a quick check without panicking. Arms, legs, abdomen, and head. If you're bleeding heavily, apply pressure to the wound with any clean cloth. If you can move, move. The second thing is a golden rule. Do not go outside. This is the most common mistake. After the shock, people's instinct is to go outside to see what happened, help others, or try to escape. That instinct will kill you, because in a few minutes, radioactive fallout will start to fall. Every second you spend outdoors, you'll be receiving a dose of radiation you can't see or feel, but which will begin to destroy your body in the coming hours. Third, close everything you can. If windows are broken, cover the openings with blankets, plastic, or whatever you have on hand. Seal gaps around doors, and turn off ventilation or air conditioning. Your goal is to isolate your shelter from the outside air, because that air will bring the radioactive dust within the next 15 minutes. Minutes 3 to 10. The decision of where to stay. This is the key moment. You have about 7 minutes to decide whether to stay where you are, or move to a better shelter. If you live in an apartment building, and you're on the upper floors, go down immediately. The basement is the ideal place. Every floor between you and the roof is a layer of protection against the dust falling on the rooftop, and every floor below you is a barrier against radiation from the street. The basement of a concrete building is an excellent shelter due to the thickness of its walls and the lack of windows. If you're in a single-story house, look for the innermost room, a bathroom, or a closet without windows. The more walls between you and the outside, the better. If your house is made of wood, you should know it's a very poor shelter that barely stops radiation. If you have a concrete building or an underground passage nearby, you have a few minutes to run there. Run, don't walk, because every minute counts. If you're in a car, get out of it. The thin metal of a vehicle offers no protection against radiation. Look for the most solid building, a basement, or an underground parking garage. Time is your most valuable resource, and you must be under protection before the dust starts to fall, which usually occurs between 10 and 20 minutes after the explosion. The first 24 hours. Surviving the lockdown. Once you're in your shelter, what follows is waiting. Radioactive contamination has a property that can save you. It weakens rapidly over time. There's the rule of 7-10. For every 7-fold increase in time, the radiation level decreases 10-fold. 7 hours after the blast, the radiation is 10 times weaker than it was in the first hour. At 49 hours, it's 100 times lower. And in 2 weeks, it will be 1,000 times lower. This means that the first 48 hours are the most dangerous of all. Any trip outside during these first 2 days will result in a very severe dose of radiation. That's why it's vital to have water and food supplies for at least 3 days. During the first 24 hours, do not go outside under any circumstances, not to help a neighbor, nor to look for supplies. Stay in your shelter. It's not cowardice. It's pure physics. Drink water from your supplies. If you don't have any, you can use water from the water heater or from the internal pipes. Any water that was inside a closed system before the explosion is safe. However, avoid tap water after the blast, because the supply system could be contaminated. Food in closed containers, cans, or sealed bottles from before the event is also safe. Throw away any food that was open or near a window, as it could have radioactive dust on it. If for any reason you were outside when the dust started to fall, you must decontaminate yourself when entering the shelter. Remove your outer clothing before going inside. Leave it outside or store it in a sealed plastic bag away from you. Just by taking off your jacket and outer pants, you remove up to 90% of the contamination from your body. If you have water, Gently wash your skin with soap, without scrubbing hard, so as not to grind the dust into your pores. Wash your hair as well if you can, since it acts as a filter that traps particles. Debunking dangerous myths. The first myth is that no one survives a nuclear attack, and that preparing is useless. This is the most dangerous myth because it paralyzes you. In reality, in a typical explosion of 100 to 500 kilotons, the area of total destruction is only a few miles across, starting at about 3 to 6 miles away. The vast majority of people survive if they act correctly in those first 10 minutes. In Hiroshima, there were people who survived just half a mile from ground zero because they were inside buildings with very thick concrete walls that protected them from the heat and the blast wave. The second myth is that you have to flee the city immediately. Upon seeing the flash, many people run to their cars and create massive traffic jams. These people end up trapped on the road, out in the open, while radioactive dust falls on them, receiving lethal doses. The recommendation is to stay in a solid shelter for at least 24 to 48 hours until radiation levels outside drop drastically. Only then, if you have transportation and a clear route, can you move, always traveling perpendicular to the wind direction to avoid following the path of the radioactive cloud. What can you do today? First, identify your shelter. Don't wait for the flash to think about where to go. Decide now what the safest spot in your home is, or if your building's basement is accessible. Second, prepare a minimum supply of about 6 liters of water per person and enough canned food for 3 days. Store it in that shelter and forget about it until it's needed. Third, keep some heavy-duty plastic sheeting and duct tape on hand to seal windows or doors if necessary. Fourth, teach your family the basic rule. In the event of a bright flash, drop to the ground, cover your head, and move away from windows. A single instruction could save their lives. Survival is possible if you are not at ground zero, and if you know how to use those 10 minutes correctly. It's not about luck or having $1 million bunker, but about knowledge and action. If you found this information useful to be better prepared, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you don't miss our survival guides. Give this video a like so it reaches more people. And tell us in the comments, what is the safest place you have identified in your home or workplace? I'll be reading your strategies. See you in the next video. Be ready.